Today we want to talk about growth mindset because this is something we look for in certainly every family business we go into, but just in general, every business we go into. One of the first things we want to understand is, does this business have a growth mindset, or are they just managing by the bank balance? Because that's really the two kinds of extremes we see. Managing by the bank balance, you would think, would be small mom and pop companies, but we see $20 million companies running by the bank balance. And they're just basically trying to maintain the status quo. It's like, is there enough money in the bank to do all the business stuff we need to do and to meet my personal needs? And that's a lot different from a business that has a growth mindset, because a growth mindset is about a lot more than just putting money into the owner's pocket. A growth mindset, our definition of it and the way we look at it from a business perspective, is growth equals the expansion of the business's mission. So I'll give you an example. Like I use Axiom as an example because it's the one that's near and dear to my heart. Our mission at Axiom is to teach business owners the art and science of growth through strategic planning, execution, and coaching. That's our mission. Now, why do we want to do that? Why is that mission so important to us? Well, it's because we believe that businesses have a better ability, a more impactful ability to change the world for the good than any government, than any nonprofit, than any church, than any social institution, government program, any of that stuff. We think business is the vehicle that should be used to actually bring about effective, redemptive change in the world. So for us, if that's what we believe, and our mission is to go out there and teach business owners how to grow and teach their leadership teams how to grow through strategic planning, execution, coaching, we want to grow that mission. We want to influence more businesses. We want to have a bigger impact on the world. So if that's our mindset, then yes, the dollar should follow. But that gets down to our business model. Do we have a profitable business model? We can grow all day long. If we don't have a profitable business model, we're just going to dig the hole deeper. But if we, and a business model is not that hard to figure out. If the market wants what you have and you can price accordingly and you can manage your costs, the money's going to be there in the bank. But it's the question of, what's your focus on? Is your focus on just the status quo bank, or is it expanding the mission? We can work with businesses that want to expand mission. We can find ways to plug in and be a resource for them to help them accomplish that. But if they don't have that and we're just managing the bank balance, it puts that business in a hard spot, but it also puts the second generation in particular in a hard spot, because managing the bank balance, the status quo, that's usually not what the second generation wants. The second generation usually wants to accomplish something. And when we hear language like, well, it's just the way we've always done it, so that's the way I expect my kids to do it, that is not a growth mindset. That is maintaining the status quo. And oftentimes we'll see that second generation get very frustrated. So that's why we want to talk about growth mindset. And the thing that happens when you have a growth mindset is it's this vehicle for creating positive stress in the company. And that's a good thing. Positive stress in terms of we're growing and we have to meet these challenges, as opposed to negative stress, we're losing money and we don't know what to do next. That's not what we're talking about. In a growth mindset, there's the positive stress, and it's really good for evaluating competency. One of the things we want to understand is whether people can rise to the occasion. Do we have competent people? Are they being challenged? Are we pushing their skills and abilities and doing so in a way that we can see positive outcomes for the business? The other thing it's good for is forging relationships, and I use that forging term very deliberately. It's like you're in the crucible and you're being hammered and you're being pushed together to overcome these challenges, and the positive stress environment enables you to build a culture fairly quickly because you're having to work together to overcome these problems. Whereas in the status quo, we can have people kind of retreat to their separate corners, not really like each other. They're not forced to work together because there's no real problems that need to be overcome. There's nothing they need to collaborate on. And it's not uncommon for us to find businesses that don't have a growth mindset that have a crappy culture simply because people haven't been forced to work together and build relationships and overcome differences and work together. And when we talk about honing priorities and highest and best use, it again goes to that idea of evaluating competency. If we have positive stress and there's lots of opportunities in front of us and we have to limit our focus to the ones that are going to make the biggest difference in the business, then we start to discover what is each person's highest and best use. And in a growing business, there are opportunities to put people to use in their highest and best use. In a business that's just status quo, you might have somebody who's got a great gift, but the business is never going to grow into a place where they even need that person's skill set or that person's ability. When we talk about family businesses, it's also important to talk about the non-family members, because in a growing business, one of the things that you have are opportunities for everybody else. If you're in a business that's just trying to maintain the status quo, a lot of times what we see is an aging workforce that's not investing in new skills, that's not motivated, not engaged, and the culture is generally kind of apathetic. And it's not hard to understand why. You're looking at a group of people who basically have resigned themselves to playing in the background because the kids are going to take all those spots. The family's going to move into all those positions, and we're not really growing, and there's only so many spots available. So I guess I'm just going to have to deal with being an employee. I'm never going to be able to grow into a leadership position. I'm never going to be able to see advancement into other areas. But when you have a growth-minded company, it gives your non-family member employees a place to grow into. It gives them a place to be optimistic and a reason to look forward to what the future holds in accomplishing your vision. How do you tell whether you have a growth mindset or not? Well, it's pretty simple from my perspective. If you tell me that you have a growth mindset, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, where's the plan? If you don't have a plan, or you don't recognize the need for a plan, or you're not going out and getting help to build a plan, then you don't have a growth mindset. You just have a wish. You wish that you were bigger. But a growth mindset is different. A growth mindset is a commitment that we're going to grow this thing. We're going to make it happen for all these reasons. And if we don't have the skills and expertise internally to build the plan, we're going to go out and get people to help us do that. That's how we make our living, is helping people who recognize that they need a plan, but they don't know how to build one. We come alongside them and help them do that. You run into a business and they've got a plan and it's on paper and they're holding people accountable to it and they're making it part of the execution of their business on a weekly basis, whether they've hired somebody like us or not, I can be pretty confident that they do have a growth mindset. If not, they're just basically maintaining the status quo. And that's not what we want for our small businesses, because they have the ability to go out and change the world in incredible ways. That's what we want them to do.